Here's a question I get asked all the time. Sippy, if you were going to keep just one guitar, which one would it be? That's a hypothetical question that no one can really ever answer. But for me, I think it'd be my Martin acoustic. I've had this 2019 Martin for, well, I've had it since 2020. It's a 000 1AE. And it sounds fantastic. And the problem with this guitar being, I don't know how well it's going to pick it up. Not well. But the action's a little high. It's at 7/64, and I'd sure like to have it somewhere between 4 to 7/64. Now, it's common knowledge that the higher the strings are on an acoustic guitar, typically the louder it is and the more the notes ring out. Better sustained, they chime better. However, if it gets real high, it becomes sometimes almost impossible to play. And there's really only one way to lower that action. First thing I want to do is check and make sure that this neck is level. I'll get this camera turned around here, maybe you can see it better. I put a capo here on the 1st fret, and then I'll hold my finger down here on the 16th fret, and I get around the 7th fret, and this is a .010 feeder gauge. And I want to make sure at least I get about that much clearance. Let's go ahead and see if we can do this again at .012. You can see I don't have that kind of clearance. I'd say this neck's pretty level. Another thing that can affect the action on your guitar is how the nut is cut. I like to come down here to the 1st fret and try to get a .022 underneath of it. I'd say that nut is probably cut pretty good. So the last thing that can affect the action of this guitar is this saddle. And the saddle, it can't grow on you, and it sure can't shrink on you. So if we're going to adjust it, the only way to adjust it will be to sand it down. I went online and I saw that Martin says that this particular saddle is a tusk saddle. It's not a bone, it's a compensated tusk saddle. So let's go online and see if they got one to replace it with. And so here we are on Martin's site. You go to their search box and type in saddle. And blank, bone, high compensated. Hey, look at this. They have a medium compensated tusk. That's sort of this thing right here. $6. What a deal. So let's see here. It's at 7/64. I'd really like to get it somewhere around 5/64. Difference between the two is 2/64. They always tell you to double that to 4/64. That's actually a 1/16 that I'm needing to take off. That seems like a lot. So, like what I do most of the time, I'm gonna mark the front of this. First I'm gonna get the strings off, and I'm gonna mark the front of this so I know where the front is. Okay? And then the one that I purchased, I'll make any modifications that need be to that one. The reason why I'm doing that is, at very worst, I can get it back how it was. Now I got to be careful because this is an electric acoustic and there's a piezo pickup underneath that, so when I pull it off I want to make sure I don't do any damage to that. Let me show you this. Get over here and show you this bridge just so you can see it. I hope you can see it. I don't have the best lighting. It's great. See how there's like a little notch or a ridge right here? So if for any reason I get this one pulled out, I lose my mark or whatever, I know there's really only one way it can go in. That's what compensates for these lower strings. Let's get at this thing. Here's a little trick I do if I want to retain the strings, which I do, is I'll just put a capo up here, and then, by the way, the new bridge fits in there perfect. It appears to be exactly the same size as the other bridge. However, I've done this a couple of times before. My best bet is to put these strings back on, at least a couple of them, check the height, and then we'll sand a little bit off. And then we'll put this bridge back on and we'll check the height, and then we'll sand a little bit off. You can take it off, you can't put it back on. So here's the new saddle. And when I measure it, it measures, I'll try to get it right, get a good measurement here, 0.36. Okay, I want to move a 1/16 of an inch, so that would be 0.062, I think. So I need to bring it down to 0.31. Now I'm going to do that in increments. I'm going to sand it a little bit, put it on, put the saddle back on, string her up and see how she plays. Let's get at it. No kind of rocket science going on here. You can see I've just got myself some sandpaper down here. Let me move this cable. And I've also been putting this block on it because I really want it to be straight and even when I get done. So I've been kind of doing it like that some too. You know, slow and steady. And then you take a measurement. By the way, it was 0.37 before, now it's 0.36. So I have taken some off, and we're going to just get it down to probably 0.35. I'm shooting again for 0.31, but I'm going to get it down to probably 0.35 and then put it back on the guitar, and we'll see what the action's like. Well, it looks like we got it down to 0.33. I've already put it back in the guitar at 0.35. Now, listen folks, if this is something you're not comfortable doing, by all means, take it to your local guitar shop or luthier and pay them to do it. But it's not that hard. Like I said, folks, you know, don't be afraid to work on your guitar. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, please take it to your local guitar shop. They'd be more than happy to accommodate you. But all I did was I went to the Martin site. I ordered the exact same bridge that I had before. I sanded, put it back in here, tuned it up, checked it, sanded, put it back in, tuned it up. I did that probably 5, 6, 7 times. I finally got it down. I was shooting for 5/64 of an inch, and I got it to just right around 6/64. So I think I'm going to play it that way for a while. It feels pretty good. I checked the intonation. Everything's still right on. I don't have any notes fretting out or anything. So thanks again, y'all, for another episode of On the Bench. Don't be afraid to work on your guitars. Rock on.